Welcome to the 2012 Bloomington State of the City Address, featuring Major Gene Winstead and City Manager Mark Bernhardson. Today's luncheon is co-sponsored by the Bloomington Chamber of Commerce and the Rotary Club of Bloomington Noon. My name is Terry Steyerwalt, and I have the privilege and honor of being president of the Bloomington Rotary Club Noon. If I may, I will ask you to please join me in showing our appreciation to Betty Olson and Linda Hershey, members of the Medalist Concert Band and the Sounds of Silver Flute Ensemble for providing such a delightful music selection from us. Ladies, please stand. Thank you, ladies. Please rise for the presentation of colors by the Bloomington Police Honor Guard, and please remain standing as the Bloomington Chamber Board members and Bloomington Police Chief Jeff Potts leads us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Ready, post. Present arms.
Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Order, arms. Left face. Forward, march.
Please be seated. I would like to take a moment and introduce Rotary to those of you who might not be familiar with Rotary. Rotary is not a political organization, but all Rotarians are vitally concerned with everything pertaining to good citizenship and the election of good men and women to public office. Rotary is not a charitable organization, yet its activities exemplify the charity and sacrifices that one should expect from people who believe that they have a responsibility to help others. Rotary is not a religious organization, but it is built on those eternal principles that have served as a moral compass for people throughout the ages. Rotary is an organization of business and professional people pledged to upholding the highest professional standards. Rotarians believe that that worldwide fellowship and eternal peace can be achieved when business and professional people unite under the banner of service. Bloomington has two Rotary clubs, the Rotary Club of Bloomington Noon and the Bloomington Daymakers. Our clubs participate in several local and international programs, the goal of which is trying to make our community and the world a better place. We offer support to local programs such as Meals on Wheels and VEEP. We support reading programs and mentor students in our schools. We support clinics and schools in Africa and India. Rotarians do not shy from a challenge and gladly accept such lofty goals as the elimination of polio from the face of the planet. We ask all Rotarians to give of their talent, their time, and their treasure in pursuit of these efforts. If these types of projects and goals seem worthwhile to you, please ask a Rotarian to share information about the opportunity of Rotary with you. A Rotarian is easy to identify as they proudly wear the Rotary pin. It is now my privilege to introduce the Executive Director of Bloomington Chamber of Commerce and fellow Rotarian, Maureen Scallon-Thaler.
Good afternoon, everyone. We are pleased that you could join us today to hear about the state of the city from Mayor Winstead and City Manager Mark Bernhardson. We are pleased that the connections that the City of Bloomington and the Bloomington Chamber are making throughout the community. I would first like to acknowledge our member sponsors for today's program: Crave, Rasmussen College, and TRIA Orthopedic Center. Thank you for your support on this event. Would the representatives from Crave, Rasmussen, and TRIA please stand? And of course, I would be remiss, they've got some really fun giveaways. Rasmussen has this pen, and TRIA, because we're now moving into baseball season, baseball, stress balls, basketballs, so please help yourself. Thank you so much, all of you. As some of you have heard, former president of the Bloomington Chamber of Commerce, Donald Groen, passed away on February 28th. Don served as president of the Chamber for 25 years, from 1974 to 1999. Fondly known as Mr. Bloomington, Don was involved in initiatives to build 2 stadiums in our city, hoping to retain professional sports, including the Minnesota North Stars in Bloomington. Although this particular initiative was not successful, a wonderful opportunity arose with the arrival of the Mall of America. Don was involved with ensuring the success of this venture, as well as retaining the Minneapolis-St. Paul International Airport in our community. Please keep Don's wife, Kathy, children, Steve, Keith, and Karen, in your thoughts. The business and community of Bloomington have lost a statesman and a great ambassador. Next, I would like to welcome our dignitaries who are here with us today. Arlene Bush and Tim Culver, Bloomington School Board, Les Fujitaki of the Bloomington Public School District, Steve Elkins, Met Council Member, District 4, Bonnie Carlson, President and CEO of the Bloomington Convention and Visitors Bureau, Todd Klingel, President and CEO of the Minneapolis Regional Chamber, as well as City Council members Karen Nordstrom, Tom Holting, Vern Wilcox, he's coming up, and Council Member Tim Busey. Thank you very much for coming, all of you. Let's give them acknowledgement. The Bloomington Chamber is committed to addressing the needs and the concerns of the businesses in Bloomington. In partnership with the Minneapolis Regional Chamber of Commerce, the Bloomington Chamber continues to build relationships with community leaders in and around Bloomington, enabling the Chamber to serve as a connector between local business associations and decision makers on substantive issues that impact the broader business community. The Bloomington Chamber is honored to have the city as a vital partner. We are working with the city on development, public works, and public safety issues that are extremely important to our members and the welfare of the Chamber. Our Economic Development Public Policy Committee works in conjunction with the city's Community Development and Public Works departments to keep informed on what projects, ordinances, and developments are being discussed and worked on. This allows the Chamber to provide feedback to the city on various issues and projects that could impact member businesses. We are in our second year with the Bloomington Public Safety Police Department initiative, Business Matters, Safety Matters, for all businesses in the Bloomington community. This valuable program continues to provide excellent information and resources for businesses to provide a safe work environment for their employees as well as their customers. We also give back to our community by participating financially in various community events such as the Taste of Chocolate, Summerfest, and the Bloomington Heritage Days. We also give back by volunteering with one of our many non-for-profit organizations in the community, such as Bridging, Companies to Classrooms, Cornerstone, and Veep. Where's Veep? Over this last year, Chamber's priorities have continued to be representing the business community on local, county, and state level. We have seen the membership of the Chamber increase and a renewed interest in our activities from the city to the regional level. We have seen the business community responding to the positive economic climate as it continues to grow at a steady pace, such as adding jobs into the community. We need to continue to work closely with the City of Bloomington to allow for development projects such as the South Loop District, which will further enhance our community for a better place to live, work, and play. And now, I would like to call to the podium Bloomington City Council at-large member Tim Bussey, Rotarian and member of the Chamber's Board of Directors, to introduce today's speakers. Thank you.
Thank you all. Good afternoon, everyone. Rotary President Starwalt, thank you very much for this invitation and having me here this afternoon. As Maureen mentioned, I am a proud Rotarian and belong to the Downtown Rotary Club, Club number 9. I'd like to extend an invitation to you on behalf of our president, Judy Kirk. Please join us anytime, and that goes for any of the Rotarians in the room this afternoon. Please join us. We meet every Friday at noon on the top of the IDS Center, and we'd love to have you. We'd be happy to host you. Executive Director, Scallon Failer, thank you much for that introduction and again, your invitation here. One thing we do have to update, though, yesterday, I did finish second in the Idaho primary. So if you could add that in, just so we have that straight. It is my pleasure this afternoon to introduce Mayor Winstead and City Manager Mark Bernhardson today, two very fine public servants that I have a great deal of respect and admiration for. Over lunch, we had a very nice discussion at our table. I told Mayor Winstead, I said, I'm really looking forward to hearing your proposal for a new Viking stadium in Bloomington. He told me there would not be a proposal for a new Viking stadium in Bloomington. So if you came here hoping to hear that, I'm afraid, like me, you're going to be disappointed. And Mark Bernhardson, I've known Mark for a number of years, and he's been a great help to me since I was appointed to the council, and I've served over the past year. His sage advice, his wise counsel, it's been very helpful. He's got years of experience, incredible knowledge. And one thing that I've always appreciated about Mark is that he's confident enough to admit when he doesn't know something, or if he needs additional information, or if he just doesn't quite get it, or just needs more information. That takes confidence, and that takes a special personality. And a good example, after one of my first council meetings last spring, he pulled me aside and very quietly and said to me, Tim, I had no idea what you were talking about tonight. And so it was that kind of information sharing that has been very important and very helpful over the years, so thank you very much. Much more seriously, it is my pleasure this afternoon to introduce our two speakers, Mayor Gene Winstead and City Manager Mark Bernhardson. Between them, these two gentlemen have combined for almost 40 years of service and leadership to the city of Bloomington. They are living examples of what Robert Greenleaf famously described as servant leadership. Leaders who achieve results for their organization by giving priority attention to the needs of the people that they do serve. They've spent their careers working to ensure that Bloomington is a more sustainable, safe, attractive, and competitive community. And with a laser focus they have worked toward the goal of providing quality services to the people and to the businesses of Bloomington at reasonable, competitive costs. It is my pleasure to work alongside these gentlemen, and as I said, it is my pleasure to introduce them today. Mark Bernhardson was appointed as Bloomington's city manager in 1991. He had previously served as city manager for Orono and assistant city manager in the city of Edina. As city manager, Mr. Bernhardson is the chief executive of a 24/7 operation that employs more than 560 people with a yearly budget of more than $54 million. Through his management and steady hand, the city has reliably and impressively met the needs of residents while finding ways to improve the quality of services, keep costs affordable, and retain the city's cost competitiveness. You've likely heard it before, but I believe it bears repeating. Bloomington has the distinction of being one of only 31 cities out of 19,000 municipalities in the United States, one of 31 that has achieved a AAA bond rating from all three of the major bond houses. That, my friends, does not just happen. It's the result of Mr. Bernhardson's thoughtful guidance and the hard work of the incredibly talented staff that he has attracted and retained and leads here within the City Hall. Theodore Roosevelt once said that the best executive is the one who has sense enough to pick people to do what he wants done and self-restraint enough to keep from meddling with them while they do it. I've had the opportunity to work with a number of City Hall staffs over the years, and I can say that very few equal and none exceed the quality and commitment of the Bloomington City staff that Mr. Bernhardson has attracted to this and assembled within this building. Mr. Bernhardson has been involved in committees and boards for a variety of organizations, including Metropolitan Cities, the South Metro Public Training Center, and he was the first board chair at Hennepin County Medical Center, Hennepin Health Systems. He's currently chair of the Gustavus Adolphus College Board of Directors, or Board of Trustees, excuse me. Mr. Bernhardson's wife, Ivy, is a Hennepin County judge, and they have 2 children. We'll invite him to the podium in just a few minutes, but right now, please join me in welcoming Bloomington City Manager Mark Bernhardson. Mayor Gene Winstead was first appointed to the Bloomington City Council way back in 1995. He was elected to his first term as mayor in November of 1999 and took office as Bloomington's 12th mayor in January of 2000. This marks the 13th year of his his term of office. And Gene Winstead holds the distinction of being the longest serving mayor in the history of the city of Bloomington. For those 13 years, his honor has set the framework and provided the long-term vision to make Bloomington a more sustainable, safe, attractive, and competitive community. Of course, there have obviously been challenges, but Mayor Winstead has shown that steady leadership and thoughtful actions during good times always, every time, help improve city options in more difficult times. And at all times, the long-term good of the city is the foremost concern. In addition to his work on the City Council, Mayor Winstead serves on Bloomington's Port Authority, the Bloomington United for Youth, and the Bloomington Convention and Visitors Bureau. He's a past member of the Bloomington City Planning Commission, serving as the commission chair during the development of the Mall of America, and he served on several other community boards and foundations. Now, despite his more weighty roles, I think his honor's most important role is that as neighbor to more than 82,000 residents in the city of Bloomington. If you've seen him putting maps on, or pins on a map at Heritage Fest, or leading a bike ride across the city, or cutting a ribbon to welcome a new business, or most importantly, looking very stylish in shorts and a tuxedo jacket, I think you'd agree that Mayor Gene Winstead not only does a great job as Bloomington's neighbor, it's something that he sincerely enjoys. Mayor Winstead and his wife Debbie have called Bloomington home since 1975. They have 3 grown daughters and 7 grandchildren. Now, friends, please join me in welcoming to the podium Mayor Gene Winstead.
Let me see you move something. Let me see you move something. Everybody move.
on and rock that body. Let me see you move something. Everybody move your body. Let me see you shake your body. Come on and rock that body. Let me see you move something.
All right. I figured I took enough grief for that segment from time gone by that we would introduce it and have it here, but it is kind of a theme of what's happening in our community now and some of the things we're promoting. And really, it is the Dewtown effort and energies, and it was really more than 2 years ago now that the mayors of Edina, Richfield, and myself got together and we began a conversation around a common goal of strengthening the health of our communities, and more specifically, strengthening the health of our residents within our communities. People are already trying to make changes, and we're trying to support them as they go through those changes. Together, we created Dewtown, an effort to improve the health of these three communities by driving changes that support healthy eating and active living. And whether you know it or not today, the menu that we presented and the menu, the lunch that you had, is on that healthy side of the category of eating. So, Dewtown is about making adjustments on how we operate, our infrastructure, and our policies within this city, so that our surroundings give people more ways to eat right and be active. Dewtown's goal is to bring together community members and leaders to discuss ideas that would make the healthy choice the easy choice in all places where we live, work, and play, in our schools, our workplaces, and in every neighborhood. We have a Dewtown display here today. It's back there in the corner. And there's papers on the table regarding Dewtown. And if you'll see on there, there's a place you can text. If you were to text Dewtown to 877-877, you'll be asked the question, what does a healthier Bloomington look like? So feel free to text that and really give us your thoughts and put it forward. The Dewtown has a vision and a mission. And the vision is communities where people live longer and healthier lives. And its mission is to create sustainable choices that support better health for all. And if you think about it, that really boils it down to a key element of where communities, where people can live longer and healthier lives. So what does this mean? What can our city do? What can we do these different things? We're going to be talking about that more today, and City Manager Bernhardson and I will speak to some of these different things. But currently, we've adopted and are now implementing an alternative transportation plan throughout the community. And it's improving our walking and biking facilities in the community and improving connections all around our community. We've approved our own Complete Streets program within the city, and we've got that policy going forward. More than 2,500 people attend our farmers market on weekends right here at Civic Plaza, and they're making healthy foods available to them. And there's also a program that makes healthy food more easily accessible to low-income families with help from Blue Cross Market Bucks program. We've got a number of expanded community gardens in the city of Bloomington. Many of them are operated by our city and sponsored by them, and many others by different churches and faith-based organizations throughout the community that are producing and growing some of these healthier food choices. We will be offering healthier food choices at our city-run concession stands going forward. There's the statewide Health Improvement Program, or SHIP as it's known, and this is led by Bloomington Public Health with leaders from Bloomington, Edina, and Richfield. And really, it has been instrumental for nearly 3 years in supporting changes, things happening in our cities, our schools, and other sites. And it has been the basis for what Dewtown is and what Dewtown has begun. I'd also like to give a pat on the back to our schools for their improved nutritional efforts and the employers within our community who have joined the workforce initiative going forward, trying to promote these principles that Dewtown aspires to. The Dewtown Thrust is for a healthier residents within our community, and that provides the platform for our 2012 initiative to be a healthier city organization in a very sustainable manner. Bloomington's success on these and other initiatives is the result of decades of city leadership taking the long view and promoting continuous, cost-effective, quality community improvements. Councilmember Steve Peterson stated at a recent council meeting when we were having discussion about our South Loop district and the development of that area. He stated, long-term visioning is what we do best. thinking about the future, taking the assets of the community, figuring out a plan, and moving forward. And there are many examples of this, including some of the development districts within our community and other things we're going to be talking about today. Our community is strong, and our organization is financially healthy. As a result, we can provide quality resources and services to our residents and businesses. As part of the 2011 budget process, the City Council again went through and prioritized all of the city's property tax supported services. And these fell into three categories or three different tiers. The first tier was public safety and needed infrastructure within our community. The second tier consisted of community stability and safety planning and maintenance. And the third tier involved issues and programs regarding quality of life. And here's the breakdown of those categories or those three different tiers. And this slide by tier represents the order of priority as ranked by the city. And the graphic also shows what the median value home pays in monthly property taxes to support these different programs in the various tiers. A healthy community is environmentally sustainable. The city is focusing on higher density mixed-use development. Think of an area with higher rise buildings mixed in along with retail, restaurant, and office space. Add in some of the most used roadways and highways within the communities. And these are connections that go through our community, and we have them in Bloomington already. Think of it as I-494 as well as American Boulevard that connect our community. Mix in frequent transit where a bus or a train comes every 10 to 15 minutes. Add in smaller parks and open spaces that serve as focal points and gathering spaces. Design streets that are intentionally pedestrian friendly and are fun and safe to walk along. Focusing on higher density mixed use areas is one way to support a healthy community because it encourages people to get around by walking and biking. It will enhance social encounters, and it builds a sense of community. It makes businesses, like healthy food stores and exercise facilities, very viable. This type of living is easy on the environment because people use cars less and homes and businesses are more energy efficient. Energy conservation is something that is so important in any community these days going forward. The city's theme is sustainability, and especially in our South Loop district, and we'll hear more about that later. But this is our objective, and we have discovered that businesses want that enough now to start doing it themselves. The Mall of America is a great example of this. The mall is replacing all 5,400 parking ramp lights with new LED fixtures. And this is believed to be the largest energy conversion project of its kind in the nation. This will trim the parking ramp's energy cost by 2/3 without any loss of illumination. Here on this graphic, you see the before, which is the picture on the bottom, and the after the installation, which is the pictures on the top. The aesthetics are obviously improved, and the level of light pollution is significantly decreased. Now here's an interesting stat. The energy saved would power about 550 homes, or it would provide enough power to run the entire city of Minnetonka Bay, Minnesota. The cost of doing this retrofit and this upgrade is $3 million. $500,000 we were given a grant from the U.S. Department of Energy and the Minnesota Department of Commerce through the American Recovery and Reinvestment Act. And also we received a $500,000 energy conservation rebate from Xcel Energy. And as a result of the city's financial strength, we were able to loan the balance, with the Mall of America paying the loan and the interest with 5 years of special assessments. IKEA is installing solar panels on its roofs and says this will be the state's largest generator of electricity from the sun. The more than 4,800 panels will generate 1.3 million kilowatt hours per year. This is equivalent of reducing 989 tons of CO2 from the atmosphere. And it's enough to power 112 homes in the community. That's how much energy they're going to generate from the solar panels. IKEA is already 12 U.S. solar energy systems operational within the country, and 20 more are underway. Installing solar panels atop Bloomington's IKEA store, along with stores in Illinois, Michigan, and Pennsylvania, will complete the solar coverage of IKEA's Midwestern stores. It's being done in the northern part of our country now, and it's working well. A healthy community is also socially sustainable. Our council continues to promote a sense of community. A lot of programs in the community now, many of them city-sponsored, many of them just engagements with others in the community. As mentioned, our farmers market attracts 60,000 people every summer, right out here in Civic Plaza. Our Summerfest program attracts 40,000 people for our celebration of Independence Day every year over at Normandale Lakes Park. Also, Heritage Days, which the committee is here today, is a community-born and grown event and festival that takes place. The city is proud to be one of the sponsors, but it's there, and it's another sense of community that's moving forward. We have our Winterfest. Believe it or not, 2,000 people come out every winter to celebrate winter and participate in many, many activities. And then there's the River Rendezvous event and festival that takes place every fall. And 9,000 people come and attend that, and it's really a step back in history on what Bloomington looked like maybe about 150 years ago, and the life and the style and what people did then. So we're able to come together as a community and view this. I know that people enjoy these events. They're constantly commenting on it, and we're seeing more and more residents and businesses coming on board and participating in these events. We've achieved a greater online footprint for the city in 2011 with the introduction of Facebook, Twitter, and the city's YouTube channel. We've been able to reach thousands of people in new ways while providing greater information and building relationships over the internet. This does save time and energy. It does reduce our resources of communication, and it does reduce some of the related expenses that go along with it. New in 2012 will be Dwan Golf Course, and it will feature a virtual tour on the city's website with course images and the topography of the golf course. And Highland Golf Course will be next. And speaking of Highland Golf Course, you all need to be aware that we've got the new rebuilt golf course on the Outer Nine, as well as the newly constructed practice facility and driving range, which will be on the center of Highland. We're looking forward to that opening yet this spring. Education is such an integral part of any community, and Bloomington is well suited. A healthy community is also focused on academic excellence. Bloomington has top quality schools. 9 of our 15 schools are Blue Ribbon Schools of Excellence, and 6 others have received Minnesota School of Excellence designations. Bloomington public schools are second to none, and they're to be commended for all that they do for it. They're here today, they were introduced, and it's great to see those things happening and moving forward constantly. Normandale Community College and Northwestern Health Sciences University are excellent higher educational institutions in our community, and we're so proud to have them here. There are also many other adult learning and graduate and technical professional career programs available in Bloomington, and they're being listed here on the graphic going forward. And we must highlight Rasmussen College, who is here today, and they're relatively new to the city of Bloomington, but they've got a large facility where they're doing much of their online administration from, but they also are holding classrooms, and they've got a big facility and a lot of things happening in the city of Bloomington. And it's to be noted, too, that Bloomington Public Schools serves as a facility for adult learning classes for the University of St. Thomas. The employment picture in our community. Things are looking up in this area, and we are seeing marked improvement going forward. The unemployment comparisons are stats and based on the December 2011 numbers, and they're not adjusted for any seasonality, so they're coming at us straightforward. You can see the United States in 2010 had 9.8% unemployment, and in 2011 that's down to 8.3%. Minnesota was at 7.5 and is now down to 5.7%. Our metro area, which was at 7%, is now down to 5.5%. And Bloomington, which was at 6.4%, has now dropped to 5.2%. You can see, obviously, that Bloomington's unemployment rate is lower than that of the nation, the state, and our metropolitan area. And Bloomington unemployment rate did hit in June of 2009 its high peak of 8.6%, and it has been falling ever since. While these unemployment rates and these figures are really good news and are improving, we also need to be aware that there are still many coming through these tough times that are still in need and are struggling. And this is evidenced by, and I think it can be reiterated by the members of the VEEP table here today. They're seeing a greater need. They're seeing a greater things for the food shelves and services throughout our community. So we must all remain aware and work and do what we can to contribute and donate and provide what's needed for VEEP to service those in our community that are still struggling. There are currently close to 47,500 Bloomington residents in the workforce today. And currently there are 87,500 jobs in Bloomington. 1 in 4 Bloomington residents who are employed work within the city of Bloomington. So that means that there are about 75,000 people on a regular basis who come to Bloomington to work. And if you say that we're a bedroom community, we are a bedroom community no more. More people come from Minneapolis and St. Paul to work in Bloomington and not the other way around. Minneapolis residents who work in Bloomington total 9,200, whereas Bloomington residents who work in Minneapolis, that number is around 7,200. The numbers are even more dramatic when it comes to the city of St. Paul, if we compare there. There's about 4,800 residents from St. Paul who come to work in Bloomington, and only about 2,200 residents who head into St. Paul to work on a regular basis. This means that our city is serving much, much more than our 83,000 residents. And we do. We provide services. We provide water and sewer, safe roads, snow removal, police and fire protection to these 7,500 workers who commute to our city. Also, if you take into consideration, too, approximate 12,000 guests who stay in Bloomington's 8,000 hotel rooms on a given busy night. That's another 12,000 people in the community. And don't forget that on a daily basis, on a typical day, the Mall of America attracts about 100,000 people or visitors. A lot going on in movement in the city of Bloomington. I'd like to talk a little bit about the development and what's happening in the city of Bloomington. Here's a look at the investment in Bloomington during the year 2011. If you look at this basis, the legend on the left goes from 0 to about $300 million. Well, of that, and based on permits issued, the value of residential remodeling in the city of Bloomington in 2011 was $4.2 million. Commercial remodeling and tenant finishes amounted to about $56 million in investment and construction in the city of Bloomington. These numbers are relatively stable year over year going forward. Also in 2011, the city issued permits for $77 million in plumbing, heating, ventilation, and air conditioning work, as well as electrical work in the city. And new residential was especially strong in the city in the year 2011. The city approved 645 new units, the most since the 1980s, and the permits issued totaled more than $88 million worth of construction. New and commercial had an average year at almost $37 million. And as you can see now, the new investment, which is kind of bracketed there, is about that amount, as well as the reinvestment in the community makes up about that amount, or $100 million of what has been gone, or what's going on in the community over the year 2011. Overall, 2011 was a very strong year for development when comparing it to the last 10 years going back. The graph here shows that. It's a record year for the city of Bloomington. Residential and hotel development is also on the upswing. And we're sensing that office and commercial is getting ready to have a cycle of investment also. We have a variety and diversity of housing choices. We now have more multiples, especially in the higher density mixed use area like that Penn and American district. The city is continually working to preserve and enhance residential housing stock within the community. And we have more offerings now for senior housing and a greater variety than most other cities. Here's an example. People have grown their families here, and they arrived when they were maybe in their 20s, and now, well, we have grown into our 50s and even into our 60s. And they're thinking that maybe they don't want or can't maintain a home going forward, but they don't want to leave their community and their community ties. And so the senior housing market has responded to this demand, and it is giving people choices to keep their ties in the community and live healthy in a different type of dwelling. And this example is Founders Ridge, which is located out in the southwest corner of our community, and it's there was property purchased from the Bethany Fellowship campus for the building of this. This is being built by Presbyterian Homes. It's a 4-phase project, and it consists of approximately 240 units. The first phase, which is shown here, is a 4-story structure with 105 rental units, and it has been completed and constructed. And really, Presbyterian Homes' goal is to provide the continuum of care. And this is independent living, moving on to assisted living if needed, and even memory care if that is needed in one's life. Another facility in Bloomington is Wellshire. It's located on 106th and Lyndale, and this is a memory care facility. Phase 1 was completed and constructed in 2011. It has 54 beds. And the owner for Phase 2 has recently submitted an application to increase the size of this phase to 81 additional units. And the Phase 2 construction is slated to be started soon in 2012. Hidden Bluffs is a new subdivision in our community. Hidden Bluffs is an example of the variety of housing choices that are available in Bloomington. This is the largest single-family detached development since the 1990s. There are 40 lots here, and it's being developed by Pulte Homes. The prices range from $350,000 to $600,000. 10 building permits have been issued, and 8 of the homes have been constructed, so it's moving along quite rapidly. Last year, we talked about major districts in the city of Bloomington. They were Normandale Lake, the Penn and American District, and the South Loop District, and reported that they were 85% of the growth potential in the city of Bloomington. And now we're getting to the implementation of those districts and those plans. 15% of that potential is in the Normandale Lakes District. And here's an example here. Luxembourg, which is under construction, is a 3-story upscale rental apartment development at 5100 West 82nd Street in the Normandale Lakes District. It includes a 4-level parking ramp, which has already been constructed, and now they're back under construction for the housing units, and so they're back in the ground, and that should be developing and coming out and be completed in a little over a year. Covington at 5701 Green Valley Drive is a 250-unit upscale rental apartment development. It's 5 stories on top of 1-level parking. Frank Dunbar is the developer of this, and this has zoning approval and will likely move forward yet this year in 2012. 5% of the renewal potential is in the Penn American District. And at Penn American Boulevard, the Genesee development is already underway. Groundbreaking for Genesee occurred about 9 months ago. The $45 million project will have 234 rental units in 3 buildings and over 14,000 square feet of retail on the ground or the street level. This is a great example of higher density mixed-use development that I had mentioned earlier. The development of the site is being done by Bloomington-based United Properties and Stewart Company in cooperation with the Bloomington Housing and Redevelopment Authority and the City of Bloomington. The first phase of the rental project is expected to be available for lease in June with completion this fall of 2012, so it'll be done later this fall. And 65% of the renewal we've spoken of in the city is in our South Loop District on the eastern portion of our city. Here, we have the Radisson Blue Hotel underway. As you can see, they're making great progress pretty quick. This video shows the time lapse of 8 months of construction of the 500-room hotel. It's on schedule for opening next March in 2013, and that's just a short year from now. This $139 million project is a public-private partnership. It involved Carlson Companies, Mortensen Construction, the Mall of America, City of Bloomington, and the City of Bloomington Port Authority. This has probably been one of the most complicated hotel deals ever done nationally, and it's evidenced by the 200 legal documents that had to be executed prior to moving forward. It is estimated that the project has created 250 full-time construction jobs and will create an additional 240 permanent hotel jobs when it's completed. Happy to announce, too, that there are upgrades going in, and Carlson Companies and Mortensen have agreed to put in $6 million worth of upgrades, and these upgrades are going to be things such as enhancing the external fins in the development of this program to accentuate the architecture and connect different banquet spaces, enlarge its restaurant area, and cover a pedestrian walkway into the Mall of America. This is that pedestrian walkway. It's the Killebrew Bridge project, and this is related to the Radisson Blue project. This will connect the south side of Killebrew Drive through the Radisson Blue parking deck to the Mall of America. This is a $3.6 million project funded by a federal grant, liquor and lodging taxes from the City of Bloomington, and assessments to the properties in proximity to the bridge. This is the current design of the pedestrian bridge and the view from the west. This will greatly enhance the safety of pedestrians in the area and entering the mall. There are elevators and stairs on the south side to minimize the footprints, really, and the cost of the bridge in general. It's architecturally compatible with the Radisson Blue Hotel, and the construction is to begin this summer and is scheduled for completion in the spring of 2013, along with the Radisson Blue Hotel completion. The Lindau Lane projects and the Lindau Lane corridor are things that are kicking off also within the South Loop District. Trunk Highway 77 right there coming off, and Lindau Lane, we're going to be putting in some great safety improvements, which I can speak to in a little bit. The second portion of this is going to be a grade separation that is just south of the Mall of America. Another one of the amenities going in on the Lindau Lane corridor is our complete streets designs going in as it moves to the east, as well as there'll be additional pedestrian and bike corridors along the area. And then we've got the development also of complete streets on 30th Avenue in this district. We were able to move forward with this because we received a state bonding grant for $15.5 million in the year 2011, which helped fully fund the project. All of this is a $49 million project in total, and it's really the kickoff and the start to implementing our South Loop development plans. Construction on these projects will start this year in 2012, and it's about a 2-year cycle to get them completed. The lowering of Lindau Lane, just north of the Mall of America, will really facilitate the Phase 2 development of the mall. And upon completion, ultimately, this project and this construction will connect 2 major developments in the South Loop, that being the Mall of America and Bloomington Central Station. A medical facility and office component is likely the next phase of the Mall of America. You can see here that it may have a hotel component and a retail component attached to it. This design and this potential development leverages the planned improvements scheduled for Lindau Lane. This latest rendering is looking to the west from 24th Avenue, would place the next likely phase on the north side of the present mall and shows it high above the lowered Lindau Lane. If you can see the Lindau Lane rendering, it is much below it, and this will really facilitate development to and over Lindau Lane. The Lindau Lane, and if you were to look at it from the east, looking east from 24th Avenue on the opposite side of the mall, Lindau Lane will feature an urban, pedestrian-friendly streetscape. This project will maximize jobs, improve safety, and leverage private retail, office, hotel, restaurants, and residential. And it really will kick off and be such an integral part of the South Loop. The safety improvements that I mentioned going on right next to Trunk Highway 77 will be there, and that interchange, or that intersection right at IKEA Way and Lindau Lanes, is a very heavy trafficked intersection, and it's also the highest crash intersection within our city. So those needed safety improvements are much, we're looking forward to having those in place. The second big transportation improvement project is 34th Avenue and the 494 interchange. This will prove to be one of the key interchanges in the city of Bloomington, and the improvements are needed to accept the future development at the airport as well as the South Loop District. 34th Avenue and 494 will be constructed as a diverging diamond interchange. This is the only one in the metro area, and it is the only one in the world with an LRT train flowing through the interchange. We received $4.2 million in funding from the state for the $6 million project. The airport and the city are the co-funders and were successful co-applicants for the Transportation Economic Development Grant. The target date for construction of this is early 2013, which is just next year, and it will be completed within 1 year. By having this design ready and really having a very creative design that was less costly than a traditional interchange, this means that it's affordable, and this project now can move forward within a year instead of maybe being deferred for up to 2 decades for any improvements to happen at this interchange. We are really committed in Bloomington to the long-term success of our community. Each of these areas I presented today are tied to making Bloomington a healthier, more sustainable community. And now I would like to introduce City Manager Mark Bernhardson, who will present other projects, initiatives, programs, and services that are driving our efforts. Mark?
Thank you very much, Mayor Winstead. I really appreciate the leadership you've shown to bring this community forward and being able to present it as you have. A healthy, sustainable community is one that really needs to have a healthy body. And in a community, a healthy body needs healthy arteries. And our arteries are our transportation system. The mayor has talked about a couple places that we've gone in and done rotor-rooting and looking to unclog them. And I want to talk to you about a few more of those uncloggings that we've done. First of all, start off with something you're all familiar with, 494 and 169. Despite the slowdown this summer as a result of state efforts, it appears that the warmer weather has gotten the schedule back on track. Reconstruction of the northbound lanes of 169 are now complete. This summer, the southbound lanes of 169 will be reconstructed. The new Washington Avenue Bridge opened in December, and 2 of the 6 new roundabouts, which will gladden the hearts of Metro Council member Steve Elkins, the first roundabouts in the community are already open on the local frontage roads. MnDOT is happy with the reconstruction project and expects to be completed with work on schedule by November. The mayor mentioned alternative transportation. The City Council adopted its alternative transportation plan in 2008. Its purpose is to enhance the quality of life in Bloomington through strategic investments over time in multimodal transportation. It encourages foot traffic, bicycle traffic, and transit. It promotes active lifestyles, improves safety. It promotes the Complete Streets program that the mayor discussed. It improves quality of life and better serves all the transportation needs throughout the community. The Complete Streets policy was just adopted by the City Council at its February 27th meeting to make it safer for all users. It balances mobility, efficiency, and cost, and in the expression using the right modes for the right roads. In enhancing the health and livability of all users, it tries to help those of all ages and abilities, including pedestrians, transit users, bicyclists, passenger cars, freight and commercial vehicles, as well as our own emergency vehicles in the community. And this is what the alternative transportation plan looks graphically. The city continues to implement that plan with a number of segments already being completed, including the key east-west restriping of 86th Street from 4 lanes down to 3 lanes with bikeable shoulders. Implementation of the city's Complete Streets and alternative transportation plans are timed to be most cost-effective and done so in conjunction with when the city is doing its pavement improvement management on designated streets. The staff looks and taking into account changes with that Complete Streets program and fits the traffic capacity, both current and anticipated, to make it safer for all those using those facilities. The city has also invested in better equipment for snow removal to provide better foot and non-motorized access in the wintertime and also promote better health all year round. Plans are underway to construct a regional trail, currently dubbed the Inner City Trail, that would run from East 86th Street along Old Cedar Avenue in the eastern part of our community and continue all the way through Richfield to the Minneapolis chain of lakes. Future plans call for the state trail along the Minnesota River Valley that will eventually run from Fort Snelling Park through Bloomington all the way down to the city of Le Sueur for those of you who are bike energetic. In 2011, the city published its Active Living, Biking, and Hiking Guide that shows the many hiking trails, sidewalks, and bikeways that thread their way through our wonderful community. Copies of the guide are available over at our information desk or can also be found online on the city's website. Using transit is good for people's health as well as the environment. The transit station at the Mall of America is the largest of the metropolitan system. Metro Transit is making decisions that will add the latest transit innovation to the metropolitan area with true bus rapid transit, BRT, service to the mall and South Loop. We are blending transit-oriented development, as the mayor showed, with these systems. In fact, South Loop is a transit-based name. South Loop represents the south end of the Hiawatha line, with the North Loop being in Minneapolis at the other side of the line. The Metro Council recently adopted a new LRT-BRT branding framework with a new Metro name and color-coded lines. What started off as a single Hiawatha line is now growing to a network. The North Star Corridor, as you know, connects with Hiawatha. In Minneapolis, Metro Council and Hennepin County are working to upgrade that interchange to not only better integrate North Star and Hiawatha, but also to be ready for the Central Corridor, LRT, which is currently under construction and anticipated for completion and opening for service in 2014, just 2 years away. In addition, the governor's 2012 bonding proposal has $25 million in it for further work on the Southwest LRT line, which would go from downtown Minneapolis through St. Louis Park, Hopkins, and Minnetonka to conclude its line in Eden Prairie. Helping to support and tie this network together, Metro Transit and Dakota County are working forward to implement the Cedar Avenue BRT service that is to begin by the end of 2012. Additional work is being done towards BRT in 35W, and they are looking to design an inline station similar to the new one that you find at 46th Street at Lake Street, and very possibly have a similar design on 35W at American Boulevard, between American Boulevard and 82nd. And eventually we're looking at possible BRT service that would connect the Hiawatha LRT along American Boulevard over to a hopefully constructed Southwest LRT by 2020. But a healthy community can't be really healthy unless it has a healthy organization. As noted over the past decade, Bloomington has a very strong financial base, and it resulted in the first of our 3 AAA bond ratings from Moody's in 1998. With a subsequent AAA from Standard & Poor's in 2000 and Fitch in 2004, we are one of the few communities, as Councilmember Bussey indicated, that are AAA communities. And we are told by those rating agencies that these rating bonding are the result of sound financial management policies by the City of Bloomington over many decades. We are proud to announce that the city again received these 3 AAA bond ratings for its issuance in 2011, and we look forward to receiving them also, hopefully, for our issuances in 2012. We have to update the number. It was 31. We're now 36. The rating agencies are loosening the standards. I'm sorry to say, but when we started off, we were only one of 19. Not only are we recognized through our bond ratings, but the Government Officers, Financial Officers Association, who works towards not only accountability but transparency of local governments to their residents, have consistently looked and evaluated our various reports. Our comprehensive annual financial report, known commonly as our audit, has just received its 40th consecutive award from GFOA, which makes us only one of 2 communities nationwide that have that track record. Our popular annual report, which is our corporate report that you all had at your desks today, we have received that award for 12 years, and we have received the budget award for the past 15 years. But financial health of an organization is of little consequence unless you can deliver quality services, updated infrastructure, and community renewal support. The cost of city services, as we've done in prior years, have focused on what the median value home pays in the community. And as you may see in this graphic, it may be a little close, but you can see it in some of your other publications. For the 3rd straight year in a row, the City Council has been able to hold the monthly cost of city's property tax supported services to $67.82 for that median value home. Keeping in mind, median value home is the one that 50% of the homes in the community are above that value, 50% are below. And if you look at it at another cut and get rid of the issue of valuation and look at the total number of single family homes we have in the community and divide that into the single family home investment that people have in this community, you get the average value home. And for that average value home, it's $78.58 a month in 2012. And what do you get for those services and for what you pay? Well, in 2012, for $23.94 a month, you receive emergency medical and police response services within 2 to 4 minutes of dialing 911. You also receive traffic enforcement, for which I know many of you in this room are grateful, as well as crime investigation and other police-related services. For $14.51 a month, Public Works provides snow plowing services year-round. I know some of you are looking for a rebate after this winter. But as you may have noted in the paper, we're on a calendar year, so in good Minnesota style, what we got now we'll pay for later. But not only snow plowing, but street maintenance, engineering, and part of our pavement management program. For $13.66 a month, Community Services provides those quality of life services that the mayor talked about. Park and rec, special events, as well as park maintenance throughout this community. And a community that prides itself with 1/3 of the community being in parks and open space. We have few rivals of developed communities that can boast this. And speaking of investments in the community and its renewal, that's $7.13 a month, primarily to update the infrastructure, principally for our streets in our longer-term reconstruction programs. Community development for $4.46 a month provides planning, economic development, and renewal services, as well as selected health and safety services. And for a very inexpensive $4.12, the fire department, one of the largest volunteer fire departments in the country, provides an emergency response in an average of 4 minutes from the time that the fire department gets the call. These key services for median value homes are not only essential for keeping Bloomington safe, but they make our city a desirable place to live and work. And how does that stack up against some of the other services that you pay for from your single family home? Well, an average home is estimated to pay about $80 a month in electric bill. Does that sound about right, Pat? Gas, at least averaged over the year, at least $50 a month. And then there are those other necessary services like cable TV for $60 a month. And for those of you who, I know we're being conservative here for the estimate. We don't want to be called on the carpet for inflating the figures. And throw another $40 a month for your internet services for about $100. And then those are those smartphone PDAs. $70 a month, anyone? And then there is our $67.82 for a whole bundle of quality services that we think stack up well against anybody. Why do property taxes vary? Denny, you want to explain this one? Former Mayor of Edina, stealing into our midst that we're most grateful for. You may have seen in the Star and Tribune about a month ago that there are over a dozen factors that influence why your property taxes vary. Key among those are the change in the value of your home, change in the value of other properties, your neighbors and other commercial developments in the community, fiscal disparities that Councilmember Halting knows only too well is to our detriment, property tax levies of each of the respective jurisdictions that you do support with your property tax, as well as local government aid and market value homestead credit. And how does that 6782 that we talked about stack up against our peer communities, our competitors to a degree? Well, that bold line on towards the bottom is Bloomington's 6782. And if you factor in fiscal disparities and property tax aids, we have not only remained relatively flat over the past several years, we're by far the lowest, even communities who are just entering their renewal phase that we've been doing for over 20 years. But the property tax supported services we illustrated to you are just part of the services that the city provides. Often overlooked, but critical to your public health are water and sewer. And if you add in those water and sewer services, and in fact, if you add in the central softening, or the softening of water that we do centrally, we'll take another cut at some of those communities. Denny, are you ready? Average property tax supported services for a single family home in Edina are at about $110. Their average sewer and water service bill is $33. They do not soften water centrally, so that if you chose to have softened water, that would be about another $35 a month for a total of $178 a month. Minnetonka not far behind at about $175. Plymouth at $150. Brooklyn Park just a few cents behind. Maple Grove at $146, and Eden Prairie just below that. Richfield starts to look like a bargain. And following up, trailing the pack, is Bloomington at $117. Bloomington is not only a sustainable community and a sustainable organization, financially and organizationally, but it continues to make efforts to become sustainable in other ways as well. The city was recently awarded the environmental stewardship from the Minnesota chapter of the American Public Works Association for its efforts in environmental sustainability. These efforts included the installation of 9 rain gardens throughout the city, prairie restoration, and the maintenance we do here at City Plaza. And Councilmember Bussey was reminding me that as you look out on the tracks, you see the prairie, perfect place for a windmill. Maybe we can start generating enough to power this show. Last August, we also did a major signal coordination project in the Normandale Lakes District. And as you know, and as you've seen, the county has done some of these in the community as well. The project coordinates signal timing to enable a group of vehicles to travel together through multiple signals with minimal or no stops. This not only saves time for the drivers, which is a critical commodity, but it saves energy and reduces pollution by reducing the vehicle idling and creates a much more efficient traffic flow. A healthy, more sustainable community is what Imagine Bloomington 2025 is all about. As we progress from talking, as we have done in the past, to implementing that discussion, that really does make us a do town. It represents the very best of Bloomington over its many successful decades. Continually building on past achievements make for even a stronger and more competitive future for us as a community. It is about the health of each of us, eating well, being physically active and mentally durable, being ever stronger as individuals and as a community. It is those efforts, day in and day out, being strategically focused on successful outcomes, that will continue to make each of us, and in turn our community Bloomington, that much more of a desirable place to be in our increasingly global and constantly evolving market in a world of ever-changing demands. So as you leave today, put a bit more lilt in your stride and that music in your head. Do the Do Town Shuffle. And I have to say, it's a privilege, Councilmember Bussey talked about it, to be part of a very top-flight staff. And I would like to recognize some of them today and thank you for what they do day in and day out, not only for today's presentation, but for their many efforts to continue to serve you in the wide variety of ways that we can. So as you see your name pop up on the screen, I would ask each of you to rise. It will go quickly, and then when we get to the end, we'll applaud each of them. So, Lori, you want to lead it off? This rolls too fast for me to talk and not screw up names. And there we go. And there we are. Thank you very much. And now we've probably run over time, but we'll take a few questions. So Mayor, if you'd care to join me. If they're arrows, I get them. If there are bouquets, he gets them.
I love that. Questions? Is there anything anyone would like to have? Pat?
What's the percentage difference between property taxes from residents versus the commercial properties? Do you know?
It's about an even balance. I think we're... Okay, excuse me, repeat the question. What is the balance of commercial property taxes paid in the city of Bloomington compared to residential property taxes paid in the city of Bloomington? I think that the residential, and this, it's about even, but I think residential maybe comes in at about 51, 52%, with the commercial taxes being paid are about 48%. Am I close to that?
Yep.
Our assessor is here, so he
Okay.
we'll go with that.
We got a microphone there, and then we'll try to get to you, Don.
What made the Radisson Blue so difficult?
We will start discussing that at 2 o'clock, and you will leave about 4:30. Suffice it to say, part of it was the fact that this was the first hotel related publicly financing allowed under tax law since 1986. You were dealing with the Mall of America and Elise, Radisson and Carlson coming together to do the hotel, the city putting, most communities would have been challenged to just publicly finance a parking structure underneath a building. But we had to go through a number of gyrations to deal with that. We were going out to New York, Detroit, New York, Boston to try to find financing in conjunction with these folks. And everybody wanted their share, and everybody wanted their say. And when you put about, Sandra, 20 attorneys in a room, yeah, we were told that the legal bills alone were in the 7-figure range. So it was extremely complex, but it got done, and I think you're going to be really pleased when it opens.
And so much of it, too, is just the economic times. It was tough to get anything developed coming through this chapter of our economic history. as well. And I think probably, as mentioned, with all those attorneys in the room working on this, it probably helped the employment figures, you know, that unemployment. There was another question.
Mayor Winstead, you talked about the addition of housing units in Bloomington, and those sounded like they were mostly high-end. What's the status of affordable housing?
The projects that are basically on the books now are, I'm going to say, predominantly high-end, but there is some market rate and there is some affordable mixed within these different units. It's to a limited degree, though. The affordability and the housing in the city of Bloomington really comes through some of our single-family housing stock within the community, and we do have a good mix of that. But some of the things being built currently probably do not fall within that affordable range. You're correct there.
Part of it is to attract folks in some of the senior developments to move out of their single-family homes to make room for it. And those are often, as the mayor said, some of the most affordable. It's a trick I learned when I was in Edina. They built the Centennial Lakes Edinburgh project to do that very thing, is to get people drawn out of their houses, free them up so that other people could move in. Oh, over.
Okay, for both of you, I guess, but maybe Mayor Winstead. What's happening with the old Cedar Avenue Bridge? It seems like, you know, we're talking about connecting Fort Snelling Park to Le Sueur. You know, the federal government is offering to come up with about $2 million, but yet Bloomington wants to run away.
Oh, no, that's not good.
Well, that's according to the Star Tribune.
The whole subject matter is very deep, and we're gonna, when we get done talking about the financing and all the elements to build a hotel, we can talk about a Cedar Avenue Bridge. The history on that goes back a long way. The bridge was gifted to the city of Bloomington, and we really didn't want it. It's in deterioration. It's going forward. The city has raised funds and collected different monies from different sources to go and do a replacement bridge down there. As we got to that point, it became apparent that through federal government, federal statute, and state agency, they wanted to rehab and refurbish the existing bridge that's there at a cost that was more than double, if not triple, the amount of a replacement bridge. The city of Bloomington had the funding, we had the funding pretty much in place for a replacement bridge and willing to go forward, but we were stopped with this new cost structure. And then you get into the fact that a newly refurbished bridge, a rebuilt bridge, has extremely high maintenance costs going forward into the future. So when you added up all these costs going forward, even with the sources of money coming from federal, state agency, county agency, city of Eagan even contributed a little bit, it still wasn't enough to put a funding package together to do the rebuild, to do the refurbishment of that, the historical preservation of that bridge. And then we have not identified the money to take it on and go forward with it into the future to maintain it. So we're caught between a rock and a hard place, wanting to do something, but what we want to do is we're not able to do just for financial reasons.
And even if all the money could be put together, first of all, I want to state that the state trail itself does not require the Old Cedar Bridge for its completion. But secondly, everybody around us says, what a great deal, we want that. And we said, fine, if this is such a fine historical structure and such a need for the region, we're happy to allow you to take over ownership. No one has stepped to the plate.
We're still working in that direction, but you'll have to stay tuned.
Mayor and Mr. Bernhardson, outside of Penn American, South Loop, and Normandale, what plans or vision does the city have for redevelopment and inspiring redevelopment and rehabbing of some of the interior parts of the community? You know, we all know many of the intersections, 90th and Penn, 98th and Lindale, so on and so forth.
Yeah. The thing is that as we found out when the Old Shakopee Road study was done, when that was built and when 90th and Penn were built and a number of other places were built, the demand for retail and the way people did retail was much different than it is today. People love ma and pa shops and the one-owner shops, but they love to go to the big box to save the dollars. And so that's really changed the complexion. And frankly, within the footprint of some of those places, the population has probably dropped maybe close to half based on the number of people per household. So the dynamic has changed. There are, I think, opportunities that will come along. We have seen conversion in some of the places to senior residential. The Southtown Baptist, that extra parcel, I think that we will see more of that in some of those old commercial areas as a possibility. As far, I think, although they're not specifically planned, we would take a look on a case-by-case basis to see what would be appropriate for each of those areas to make them revitalized, because some of them, frankly, we're over-retailed, and it's a change of use. But that's no different than South Loop. It's no different than what we're doing in a Penn American, and it's not really that different than what's happening in Normandale Lakes. Normandale Lakes, the Luxembourg is going on an old Seagate manufacturing site. Penn American, the Genesee, is on old car dealerships. And the Mall of America used to be a stadium. So I think that you ask a very good question. It's one we wrestle with. We don't have any quick answers, but Mayor?
No, and I think, Tom, you've highlighted, one of the challenges we have in our community, and the development districts we've got represent about 85% of the potential development within the city. Well, guess where that other 15% is? It's the sites that you've identified, some of the 90th and Penns, and we've got a number of them that are challenging to accumulate the site, to finance a plan to go through what type of development could be there, what will be accepted by the marketplace. But it's not that we're not working in that. We did not highlight them today because of their degree or what's in the community, but they're out there and they are a challenge.
Our thanks to Mayor Winstead and Mark Bernhardson for showing us how Bloomington is enhancing its connections throughout the community with improved service, economic development, and updated technology. I'd like to thank all of you for coming out today. What is everybody? Oh, okay. I'm like, boy, but I'd like to thank all of you for coming out today. Again, I'd like to thank our sponsors, Crave, Rasmussen College, and Tria Orthopedic Center. Thank you very much, and all have a wonderful day.